In a 3D program like Max, there are essentially two types of maps. A file map is an image stored on disk, and a procedural map is some algorithm or little mini program that generates an image. I've got a procedural map here. It's an OSL Uber noise, and it's driving the bump channel of my paint material. And we can see in realistic mode in the viewport, we're getting a bump effect. When we're designing a procedural map, it's helpful for us to know what the size of this sample is. I'm going to expand the node, just make it larger, and that'll just make the preview larger. So the question at hand here is, what are the dimensions of this sample? Does this sample represent a centimeter, a meter, a kilometer, or what? So we need to control this so that when we make choices and decisions in designing this map, we have some point of reference as to what the scale is. To change the size of the render sample, we need to go into the Compact Material Editor. Go to Modes, Compact Material Editor. In the Compact Material Editor toolbar on the right, there's a button labeled Options. Click on that. In the Material Editor Options, we see Render Sample Size. So that's the absolute size of a render sample, or a preview. So let's change this quite a lot so that we can really see the difference. I'm going to bring this way down to 0.05 meters. And by the way, right below that, you will see default texture size. You can ignore that because it has nothing to do with this. It does not affect the sample size. It has to do with a special type of mapping coordinates called real-world size. This parameter sets the real-world size for newly created textures, and it does not apply in this situation. Okay, so I've set the render sample size to 0.5 meters or 5 centimeters. Click OK, and switch back over to the Slate Material Editor. Go to Modes, Slate Material Editor. That render sample size parameter is a user preference. It is actually not stored in the scene. And additionally, the rendered previews in the Material Editor do not automatically update, even after resetting Max. If you change that render sample size parameter, you'll need to manually refresh the preview. Right-click on that sample. From the pop-up menu, choose Update Preview. Now we see a sample that's only 5 centimeters on a side. If we zoom in our perspective view with Control-Alt-Middle mouse, we can see that when we're at a scale of centimeters, what we see in this viewport kind of represents this cell pattern here in our preview. Okay, so I don't actually want to be zoomed in that close. A 5 centimeter sample isn't really what I want. So I'm going to go back into the modes, to Compact Material Editor, back into Options, and let's set the render sample size to 0.5 meters, or 50 centimeters. Click OK. Switch the mode back over to Slate Material Editor, and again update the preview. Right-click, Update Preview. And now we've got a sample that is 50 centimeters on a side. That's how to set the render sample size preference.